What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mountain Motorsports in Roswell. I am Chaseontwowheels, and in front of us we got the 2019 Yamaha R3. This is the Monster Edition, but don't worry, the Monster Edition is just different graphics. It is still an R3. I am still excited to ride it, and this is the first bike in the low CC Super Sport class of first rides that we are going to be doing. And before we get started, I do want to remind you guys, if you are in the market for a bike and you are in the North Georgia area, I highly recommend you guys come into Mountain Motorsports. And if you click that link down below in the description, you guys can actually get first ride special pricing on motorcycles there. That is my gift to you. You're welcome. You just gotta sign some stuff, and then you can get the absolute best price on a vehicle here at Mountain Motorsports, at least in the Georgia locations. But without further ado, we need to get on this R3 because it has been far too long since I've got to ride one of these cute little bad boys. The new R3, the first, ooh, LED headlight, yes. I am so happy with Yamaha with this thing. So you guys that have seen my other R3 first ride, you know, oh, that's cute. So you guys that have seen the other R3 first ride know that I'm a big fan of the old R3. I think Yamaha did a phenomenal job with it. Sitting on the bike, you guys can see how bent my legs are. My inseam is 32 inches, but
it works. It works. Look.
I'm so glad that the kill switch works. I appreciate you showing me that. All right, so 32-inch inseam. My legs are that bent. Seat's actually pretty comfortable. It is light as a feather. And I don't think there's anything more to do than ride this thing. Ooh, there is something to do. These mirrors are terrible. The positions of the mirrors. Hold on, I gotta get that mirror fixed. It's that bad. I will say that gave me an opportunity to put the bike in neutral, and I really like how clicked in neutral felt. $0 miles on a brand new R3, baby. Hell yeah. It has been a minute since I've ridden a lower CC Super Sport, and I have to say, these things are so tiny, but they're so great. Look at that, engine braking, not bad. So as we come to a stop, I do want to point something out with the little R3. This thing has ABS front and rear. For you guys that are watching that don't know what ABS is anti-lock braking, so if you slam on the front or the rear brake on this bike, it's not going to allow the front wheel to just stop moving, slide out, then you low side, then you get hurt, and then you potentially never ride again. ABS stops you from doing that, so that's... I personally, you know, as a rider, I like having rider aids, but on lower CC bikes that a lot of beginners typically get, I really like rider aids because it just makes the whole riding experience much safer for somebody. Because if somebody's going to slam on the brakes, it's going to be somebody new to riding. Something interesting that I'm noticing is I'm on a tinier bike. It's lightweight, it's small, but I feel oddly planted on the road. Like, it's not as flicky as you would really think, but I kind of like that because I feel like I'm on a bigger bike right now. I'm not a real big fan of this turn signal. It's kind of mushy, and I don't really get a lot of satisfaction. Like, I can barely tell. I can barely feel that I'm pressing that in. Not a huge fan of that. So we are on a brand new bike, so it hasn't gone through the break-in period. We're on a 321cc bike, so the acceleration's not going to be astronomical, but I really like the engine braking amount. For you guys that don't ride or have never ridden before, engine braking is basically when you let off the throttle like this, the bike is going to slow down. That's engine braking. I prefer engine braking over regular braking. Like on the way I personally ride, I don't really have to brake that much because I just engine brake using the motorcycle. And so I always look for engine braking a lot when I'm looking into motorcycles. And this has got a solid amount of engine braking. One thing that I absolutely love about lower CC bikes is suddenly riding around town is far more interesting, because when you have a big bike, you know, we're going 50 miles an hour right now. If we were on a bigger bike, we'd be in first gear easily. There are some big bikes, like leader bikes, you can go over 100 in first gear. But these lower CC super sport bikes, I can be in fourth, fifth gear, and I'm going up through the revs on city streets. To ride like this on a super sport, like a big boy, you know, you're talking like the 800, 900, 1,000 cc's, you got to be on a track and then be about to kill yourself. But on these little bikes, you get that satisfaction of going through all the gears, and you're still on city streets and you're not disobeying that many traffic laws. Look at that engine braking. This bike, honestly, it feels more like a smaller R6. I feel like the old R3 didn't really give me that much feeling of like a smaller R6, but now this one looks like a small R6, and it's revving like an R6. It's not revving as high as an R6. That thing revs up to 16.5 grand, but I do notice the engine braking in the lower gears is a little more pronounced than it is in higher gears, but that just means when you're lower in the gear, you're able to come to a stop sooner. Throttle response wise, I feel like this is more than capable for city streets. I am interested to see what this thing does on the highway, like see how the power goes on there, but I will say the power delivery seems really smooth, which is good. Like, I'm not getting surprised anywhere by the power. Oh. It takes nothing to lean this thing over. It doesn't flick back and forth like you would think a really small bike would, but it feels so good. I will say that rear brake feels like it's doing next to nothing. Granted, it's a brand new bike. The brakes aren't worn in yet, so I don't want to totally judge the brakes, but that felt like it needed a little. Rear brake feels like it needs a little more there. Rear brake's not as important, though, if you guys are new to riding. The front brake is like your 80%. Use 80% of your braking on the front, and then the other 20% is the rear. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, we're going around town, and I'm in fourth gear getting to, like, go around cars and stuff. You know, it makes for an enjoyable riding experience. And that's one of the things I push people to start on bikes like this, because you can actually have fun doing something that's seemingly not a big deal. When you're on a bigger bike, you're just in first gear. You might click up to second because you're bored. You know what I mean? But this bike, you know, we're coming to a stop. I get it downshift and rev match the bike. If I want to be a little fun, you know what I mean? Can I just say, I'm so jealous of you guys that are starting to ride these days, because your options are insanely better than mine were when I started riding. Dude, I honestly think the engine braking is stronger than the rear brake by 1,000%. All right, so we are coming up to the highway test for the 2019 Yamaha R3. Man, that front brake is, I want more on the front brake too, to be honest. At least you got good engine braking. The front and the rear brakes aren't amazing. I don't know if you'd ever need ABS with them being that squishy. Then again, I gotta keep reminding myself we're on a brand new bike. The brakes aren't kind of bit in yet, so give the brakes a solid plus, 20% compared to what I'm reviewing them. All right, boys, here we go. The highway test. Some of you guys might be looking at this bike to commute on. Let's see what she's got. All right, we're getting on up there in the revs. A cop check, even though I don't know if we need one. All right, we got to beat that white bus. Easily beat the white bus. Easily speeding. Something interesting with the R3 is gears 5 and 6 are overdrive gears. So they're gonna be the gears you wanna put the bike in when you're chilling on the highway. If you don't wanna be having the engine revved up too high, you got 5th and 6th gear for that. But all of your acceleration is gonna be on 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can definitely tell we're in 6th gear. My RPMs are much lower. I don't have a ton of power, but you can see I can still accelerate past cars. We're going 90 and I'm still throttling up. No problem. So as far as wind, I can kind of start feeling the wind right here in my chest. But with Super Sports, I like the wind like that because I'm leaned up forward some, and that wind is going to help hold me up so I don't put as much weight on the handlebars. I personally like that. And if you're taking this to a track day or something and you need less wind, you tuck down here and it goes away. We're on a 300. Can I just remind you guys of this? So you don't have a lot of acceleration on the highway, but I don't think you would expect that. If we chill back down to, let's just go 75. Speed limit's 55. We are still speeding, but 75 is a very comfortable cruising speed. Look at this bike. We're at 6th gear going 8 grand going 75. We could do this all day long. If you had a commute, the seat's comfortable, the body position's really comfortable. I could totally see you commuting on this bike. It's not a hindrance, the wind's not bad. I'm not a big fan of tucking in, but if you needed to, you totally can. I do know that they put brand new tires on this bike, and maybe that's having something to do with that going back and forth and that stability in the lane. But I really like that. It gives me that sense of stability on a smaller bike when the wind's strong and all that kind of stuff. I like that stability feeling. We're gonna slow down a little bit here because we got this big turn coming up. Solid job on the little R3 on the highway. I always kind of worry about these bikes on the highway, but not after that, man. All right, so let's shift down and get into our actual power gears here. We don't have traction control, so you don't want to go too crazy on this bike, especially on city streets. Look at that, we're already caught up to the Tesla Model 3. There you go, simple facts. The R3 is just as fast as a Tesla P85D Model S in a turn. That's not true, don't believe me when I say that. I solidly feel like this bike has the capability of giving you a very exciting riding experience if you haven't ridden before. If you've ridden before, then the power is going to probably feel a little lackluster, but it is a 321cc bike. You should not be expecting your head to get thrown back. I really like how stable this bike feels, though. It's one of those things I did not expect on this bike, but I'm getting it and I'm loving every bit of it. Granted, it's a brand new bike, so the brakes aren't kind of like worn in yet, but I'm hoping that the brakes are a little stronger once the bike's actually worn in, because a beginner's going to need those brakes. A beginner's not going to be able to pay attention to every single thing on the road. Something's going to come up and surprise that rider, and they're going to need to slam on the brakes. So, and we've got the ABS to handle it, but I do hope that the brakes wear in a little better. So let's talk about body position real quick. So my legs do feel a little kind of poised. I think a taller rider would have a bit of an issue riding this bike. I'm 5'10" personally, so you know, if you're anything over like 6'1", I don't know if I would go for an R3. You're gonna feel a little cramped up on that. As far as the upper half of my body though, I feel good. I feel kind of slightly leaned over. It's a pretty comfortable riding position, and I like how it makes me feel. It kind of puts me in this little sporty position, and which it should. You know, the R3 finally fits in with all of the other R-class bikes, the R1, the R6, and now the R3. You now have a motorcycle that you can get a lower CC model. And you know, if you got friends without motorcycles, dude, they have no clue what bikes are what. You can get an R3 and it be the right bike for you. You know, you don't have to get the R6, which is the one that looks cool that you want. You can actually get the right bike and CC for you and have it look really cool. Your friends that don't ride ain't gonna know shit. I don't know if the R3 will wheelie. If you got good with it, you could probably wheelie this thing. I just love that you can get a lower CC Super Sport with the looks and ability that this bike has. It's such an awesome time for beginner riders. Ooh, ABS kicked in on that rear. I like it. I love ABS, man. It's always there if you need it. And the majority of the people that are riding this bike are probably going to benefit over ABS, as opposed to the people that they know enough about riding on how and when to turn stuff like traction control and ABS off. I feel like the majority of the people that are riding this, I don't feel like those type of people overlap. You know, the person that's going to be riding an R3 is most likely going to be an earlier rider, but I could totally see a person that has a little more skill having this and having a really enjoyable time. The thing that's cool about the R3 and all the other beginner bikes that we're going to be riding and doing first rides on is it allows a lot for you to learn into. You know, you get this bike as a starter bike and you get used to the throttle and the clutch and all that kind of stuff. And once you get used to the power, you can then start advancing your riding and keep the same bike. You're not going to have to upgrade this as soon as everybody kind of thinks you are. You know, if you're doing a ton of highway and a ton of commuting and you want a bigger engine, then you might not need something like a 300. But if you are going to do some type of riding that's like spirited riding, or maybe even you're thinking about track days, these bikes would be awesome, because once you get used to riding, you can then start learning all the details of like correct riding position and how to use the brakes and the throttle coming into turns. I am noticing the handlebars wiggle a ton when I let go of the handlebars. Like, watch up here. I'm going to let go of the handlebars and you'll see them wiggle after we get out of this turn. All right, here we go. Ready? It's pretty odd. I do got to say, I kind of love these little overdrive gears. Once we're like up to speed in traffic and I'm in a situation where I don't want to be, you know, overtaking cars and stuff, throw this thing in 5th gear and I'm solid. I don't have high revs or anything like that. It's going to help, I assume, the maintenance of my engine because I'm not having to run it as hard. So we're at a red light real quick. Let's talk about the tack up here. Everything looks solid. You know, I don't expect a full color dash on a lower CC Super Sport. I feel like these things are made to be economical. And if that's an area that we have to forego, that's totally fine, as long as everything's usable. I can see my RPMs very easily up front, my miles per hour. I love that I have a gas gauge, got a time, temperature right here, and then we got the gear indicator. I had a 09 R6 forever, and I never had a gear indicator. So the fact that the lower CC bikes have gear indicators now is absolutely phenomenal. I do like the position of the front. You know, everything kind of fits together. It kind of feels like a little race bike, and I do kind of love it. I do wish we kind of had adjustable levers here. Those would be nice. Beginner riders are, you know, still trying to learn the clutch. And while the clutch feels really good on this bike, it would be nice for them to be able to adjust it to what feels really comfortable. But the clutch does feel really smooth, and it does fit my hand, so it's not really an issue for me. But I could see a beginner rider, you know, if you've got bigger hands or smaller hands, you want to adjust it. Now, I'm sure if you wanted an adjustable clutch lever, you could get that from Yamaha. I'm sure Yamaha sells one, and levers are pretty easily gotten from aftermarket companies, so that's not too big of a deal. We're going to turn into our old spot and get a little walk around going on the bike, because it is one of the things I like a lot about this R3. I don't know about you guys, but looks are important to me, and I have a feeling that the majority of riders out there are also going to give a care about looks. I think it's a motorcycle thing, a motorcyclist thing. Looks are important. We want our bikes to look cool. We want to wear this cool gear and stuff like that. One thing I am also noticing that I like about this bike a lot is the gears. When this bike is in gear, or when you change gears, you know that you're in the right gear. All right, 2019 Yamaha R3. Look at the headlight, dude. Look at that head area. It looks so freaking mean. And we've got these gold forks, so it looks like you've got Olin suspension up front. And we have a yellow rear shock. So if you guys don't know, Olin's suspension is like race level suspension. They typically are gold up front and yellow in the rear, so you have this like race replica looking bike. The exhaust is not terrible. I appreciate that it's kind of blended into everything. These rear sets are really bulky. I think I'd change those out, change this out. I love the tail. I love the angular situation going on. I would definitely take those big old boys off. But that stuff's tiny, man. I think this personally is the best lower CC looking sport bike. Obviously, we're in a comparison situation, so we're going to be riding all of the lower CC sport bikes in the coming weeks. But I don't know, man. Just all the angles on the R3 really do it for me. You guys can let me know what you think about the looks in the comments down below. If you guys want to see more photos of this bike, I do a little photo set for each bike. I put it on my website, Chaseontwowheels.com. Put a link to it down below if you guys want to go check those out, download the photos, do whatever. We take a good amount of them. Yeah, let's get back on the bike, man. Let's finish this thing up. Before we get out of here, let's check these little buttons. I mean, I am appreciative of the click, but there's not a lot of tactile feeling going on in those buttons up there. As far as the controls, though, I am pretty happy with where the controls are, other than the little turn signal. Not a huge fan of that. Everything else is kind of laid out exactly where I would want it, though. Man, you can totally have fun on this bike. I'll put it this way, if you can't have fun on a 2019 R3, then you might not be as good of a rider as you think you are. That might upset some people, but having fun on a motorcycle is not all about how fast you can go. It's about being able to enjoy it, and I feel like this bike does a really good job of being approachable and easy to use, and allows me to just enjoy riding it. I don't have to worry about, is the engine gonna just like, is the power band gonna hit really hard and then something's gonna become like uncontrollable or something like that. I just feel like everything kind of works on this bike. I love the fact that we have overdrive gears so that if you are wanting to commute, you can get this bike, throw it up in, you know, 5th or 6th gear, and you don't have like a yelling bike for, you know, the 20 minutes or however long you're gonna take to commute. It's got a really good feeling clutch on it for beginners, especially beginners that aren't used to that clutch. I personally had a hell of a time learning, you know, the finesse of using the clutch. And I feel like this bike has a phenomenal clutch, especially compared to, I started out on a 2005 SV650, and dude, I was stalling all the time. Throttle response is super linear, so you're not gonna have a peak level of power, you're just gonna have that consistent level of power throughout the rev range. That's gonna make it a lot easier to learn the bike and be able to expect when the bike is, and how the bike is gonna throttle through a turn. The last thing you want as a beginner rider is a unlinear throttle response, because you're gonna find yourself inevitably in a turn or something and you need more power, and if you just happen to be in the power band and you give it too much throttle, you could lose the rear wheel or something like that. That is terribly dangerous. What are you doing? So anyway, the linear throttle response I really like. I think Yamaha has done a phenomenal job making an already great motorcycle even better for beginners. This is going to be a strong contender on starter bikes. If you're looking for a lower cc super sport type bike to start on, it's going to be really hard to do this. I feel like it would do well commuting if you needed to do that. And then once you got in city riding, you can still have a really good time. So I don't think you guys are going to make a bad choice if you're looking into a bike to start with, considering the R3. And guys, that's about all I got for the first ride on the 2019 Yamaha R3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got a few more lower cc super sports that we're going to be doing first rides on, and eventually crowning a champion of the lower cc super sport class. If you guys are in the North Georgia area, make sure to go check out Mountain Motorsports. They are the dealer here in North Georgia that allows me to be able to do all of these bike reviews for you guys. Without them, I would not be able to walk into a dealer and pick any motorcycle to ride and come let you guys know what it's like riding that bike for the first time. And make sure to check out that top link down below. If you check that out and sign up for first ride special pricing, you guys can actually get a good discount on the motorcycles up at Mountain. That is my way of helping you guys getting into the motorcycle industry. My goal is to grow this industry more and more and to show you guys how fun these things are riding them. So hopefully I did my job correctly. And if you end up going up to Mountain and using that first ride special pricing, let me know in the comments. It will make my day to know that I saved one of you guys some cash that maybe you could put towards getting a nicer helmet or some more gear or something like that. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for getting to the end of the video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, you know, the whole YouTube situation you got to do. I'm Chaseontwowheels, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later. All right, outro crew, I got a cool idea. So now that we're doing these comparison groups of first rides, you guys give the R3 an outro crew rating in the comments, and then in the big final video, I'll crown a winner for the outro crew. So you guys will be able to select your own winner of all of these lower cc super sport class bikes. You guys will get your own category. Also, thanks for getting to the outro crew. If you're in the outro crew, you better have liked this video. Anyways, guys, you know, I'll see you on the next one. I appreciate you getting to the end of it. Have a good one. Later.